Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, 6 times Olympic champion, and today I'm going to be taking you through my typical leg day session in the gym. I'm going to take you through all the kind of tips and tricks, nutrition, technique, and just some insights into what I do on a fairly regular basis. Well, today I'm starting just on the bike as I usually do, just 5 minutes, really gentle pedaling. The whole point of this is just to warm your body up, get the heart rate slightly elevated, loosen off the muscles, get the blood pumping, and prepare yourself for the first part, which will be a bit of mobility and a bit of stretching before we start lifting some weights. So the next stage is kind of doing stretching, mobility work to open up the hips to get yourself ready for lifting in a deep flex position. The foam roller is a really useful tool. You know, I've used this for many years now. It's great for kind of getting right into the tight spots in your muscles. If you think about your muscles as an elastic band, if you try and stretch it cold, the stretchy part of that band will move first, not the tight part. So this is what you use to get into the tight parts to loosen them up, and then the whole muscle will stretch as one, or as close as possible, and then that will really help you before you start your heavy lifting. So you're pushing out against here, trying to get yourself into that really good posture and putting the tension on the inside of your thigh and your glutes so you can get into this deep squat position and squeeze your glutes as you're doing this too. And that really just opens up the hips, opens up all the tendons and stuff which can be a bit stiff at the start of the session before you crack on with it. Using bands is a great way to assist your stretches, to give you a little bit more range in them if you like. So pop down here, get a nice thick band here, there's plenty of resistance, attach it to something secure and sturdy, and get it all the way up to the back of your leg, right under your glutes there. Step back into it so you've got lots of tension on here, and then you just do the same exercise but with this pull, which pulls your pelvis forward, helps you stretch your hip flexors out. So just hold that posture there and you'll feel the squeeze immediately, and then you can relax into it. So as you relax, the band is keeping that tension. I can feel that opening up my hips there. So you do maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds worth and repeat it. Again, using the band, pull the band all the way up to the front of your leg there, take the tension, and then come down on one knee. And basically you're moving from external to internal rotation. Squeeze your glutes and then rotate it in. And you'll feel that the band's pulling and it almost kind of unloads your hip joint, and it just allows that stretch. It opens everything up and everything moves a bit more freely. I've already done some static stretching, and now this is working your hamstrings through the range of movement that you're going to be using once you start working. So static stretches are great to begin with, and once the muscles are already a little bit warmed up and stretched, then you can start doing the dynamic stretches. So do about 12 of these on each side. Next one, walking lunges. So just with your hands on your hips, going into full lunges, squeezing your glutes and your quads, imagining that there's 2 tracks. So you're not following a single line and lunging across the line. Imagine there's a track for your right foot and a track for your left foot, and that's how you're following that down. And then when we get to the end of this, we should be pretty much ready to start with some lifting. Right, first proper exercise, really good exercise for working on your technique for the squat, good for general core and I guess stability, is the overhead squat. So don't stick any weight in the bar, start off just with the bar. It's quite an advanced exercise, so don't worry if you feel a bit wobbly. You could even start off with just like a broom handle or a lighter bar. You want to get into a snatch position, so wide grip on the bar, get under the bar, lift it off as if you're going to squat it, stand back, make sure you've got plenty of space above you and behind you. Now feet position, regular squat position. Imagine you're gripping the floor with your toes, with your big toe, and you squeeze the glutes, and I'm just going to press the bar, jerk the bar up into position. That's your start position there. From here you're going to take a deep breath and you're going to slowly come down into the squat position. No wobbling around, keeping your head looking straight forward, and then you're going to squeeze the glutes and stand back up again. That's 1 rep. So you go back with the hips, keep the knees over the toes and drive up. And when you've done your set, You don't want to just drop it, smash onto your shoulders, but you've got to kind of lower it down as slow as you can. So resist the weight, and when you get close to your shoulders, then just absorb it a little bit with your knees, and then rack it back up again. We used to use this exercise as a way to improve our sort of shoulder stability. It's really good for the backs of your shoulders, your neck. I used to get a lot of pain with that because you'd be in a tuck position on the bike. So this is a good way of working on that strength and stability in the shoulder, but also helping you get that really straight spine to be able to get into a deep squat position. I try and train every day in some shape or form. Even if you only got half an hour, you know, it's worth doing a little bit of something to get your heart rate up, get yourself feeling like you've done something. What's difficult is if you stop completely after being a professional athlete, because A, you're used to feeling fit and healthy, and B, it's hard to get back if you've had a long layoff. So yeah, I never really stopped. When I finished my career, I just still enjoyed riding my bike and going to the gym. And the gym was a big part of being a sprint cyclist. I spent probably 3 sessions a week in the gym, mainly working the legs. Top tips: use a mirror first of all. Watch yourself in the mirror. Try and be as symmetrical as you can. Don't use any weight at all. Even a bar, even 20 kilos can be quite heavy. So start off with a broom handle and work your way up. Well, we're going on to the squat now. This is the king of all exercises in the gym. If you're only going to do one exercise, this is the one you want to do. If it's done correctly, it's incredibly effective, but you see so many people with poor technique risking their back and their joints because they're trying to lift too much weight. So it's really important to get the technique right and then pile on the weight as you get more experienced. All the gold medals have been built in the squat racket, without doubt, and it's, you know, I probably spent way more time on the platform in the rack than anywhere other in the gym at all. You know, it's the most important exercise. To perform the squat, I'd always start off with a warm-up set, at least one warm-up set with just the bar. I use the little knurling marks on the bar with your thumb. Get yourself set under, rest it just on that kind of the muscles behind your shoulder. Form a nice little pad and grip the bar with that. Really pull your shoulder blades together. Elbows down. You're not lifting with your head up. You're not lifting your head down, it's a neutral position. Feet shoulder width apart. Grip the floor with your big toe and your other toes, in fact. Keep that neutral balance on the weight of your feet. You're not on your heels, you're not on your toes. It's an equal spread of balance. The first part of the movement, the hips go back, just ever so slightly, they go back, and then your knees come out and you come down into full squat. Your knees should just be over your toes, depending on your anatomy and your body shape. For me, they come quite a long way further forward over the toes. You're squeezing your glutes, you're sucking in your T8, and you're driving back up again. Light weights, building it up gradually. You don't need to jump straight into your working weight. And it's a good time when you're doing this to really concentrate on your technique, so that when it comes to the heavy lifting, you're really switched on. When you come to the bottom of the squat, sometimes people will then drive back, and that's because they haven't got the strength in their lower back and in their core to drive up at the same rate. So you want your shoulders to go up at the same rate as your hips, not like that and like that. And equally, you can get people that will try and stand up straight away. It's about getting that balance between your shoulders and your hips and moving them as one. It's so important at the beginning to get the technique right. It's like learning a golf swing or anything else. It doesn't look complicated, but it's quite a complex movement. The heaviest ever squat for one rep was 240 kilos, but I did 235 last year. So yeah, with about 6 months of focusing on trying to get strong, I almost got back to my best. I train now, I train because I enjoy it, because I love it, and it makes me feel good at the end of the session as well as during it. It can be a social thing, you can do it to meet friends at the gym and catch up. It can be a solitary thing, going out on the bike. I feel better for doing it, and I only now really appreciate the benefits of physical exercise now that I've retired. I think when you do it as your daily job, you just take it for granted. But I still try and set myself goals and set myself things that inspire me to work hard and have a purpose for each session. You tend to feel, when you're going heavy, it's normally the next day. If you're feeling it by the time you're walking back to the car, then you know you've had a hard session. But yeah, it's normally the next morning or even the day after, 48 hours after a big session. That's when the DOMS kicks in, the delayed onset muscle soreness. If you've only got time to do one exercise, it should be this one. Next up, RDL, Romanian Deadlifts. These are another assistance exercise, predominantly focusing on your hamstrings and your glutes. Now, you don't need to go all the way down to the floor and back up again, and you're not bending your knees. So in RDLs, or often known as a stiff leg deadlift, where you have a slight flexion in the knee, and you're lifting the bar up, and then opening up the hips at the very end. But really, it's all about pivoting from the hips, not the knees. So you have a light weight. We'll start off with this as a warm-up weight. You come up to the top point, shoulders back, head neutral, and you lower it down maybe only to about just below your kneecaps, and then back up. When you try and suck in your transverse abdominis, is this muscle here, really good for your core stability. So suck that in, keep your pelvis set, and everything comes from the glutes and the hamstrings. Imagine there's that pivot here, that hinge. So it's not a knees bend up and down, it's pivoting from your hip. And it's really quite a light weight. You don't need to go heavy for this. It's not a regular deadlift or a sumo deadlift. It's just, when you're doing this, you're focusing on your hamstrings and squeezing your glutes when you get to the bottom. So you get to here and you really squeeze the glutes and the hamstrings all the way up. The next day, I guarantee, when you wake up, you'll feel your hamstrings from doing these, because your hamstrings, you're almost going to full stretch under tension. At the bottom, you don't feel it at the time, but your hamstrings will feel like you've been absolutely battered the next day and the day after as well. So don't worry, that's a normal feeling you'll get. This is a good way, a good sort of all-round session. Sets of 10, it's your kind of bread and butter, 4 sets of 10, minute recovery. You're never fully recovered. You're feeling that kind of burn. Your breathing rate never gets back down to normal. And by the end of the session, well, I'm already starting to sweat a bit now, aren't I? But that's a good sign. Top 3 tips for the RDLs. Really focus on slow and smooth, squeezing your glutes and your hamstrings, not your lower back. This is a glutes and hamstrings exercise. Don't go heavy, you don't need to. It's an assistance exercise. It will help you in a number of different ways. Next exercise is the lunge. So a very dynamic, very explosive movement. It's good for control, it's good for power. And when you come down to the bottom part of this lunge, the knee shouldn't be coming all the way forward, and it shouldn't be coming down like that. You want it to be just around the front of your toes. Your back knee should never touch the ground. You want to always be in a nice controlled position. And a bit like the walking lunge for the warm-up, imagine there's 2 tracks that your feet are parallel to. So you're putting your right foot on the right track and driving back up, and then your left foot on the left track. You're not trying to sort of get in the middle. You get all off balance and a bit wobbly. So with the bar, same start-up position as the squat. Step back to the back part of the platform. Pick your spot you're going to land on, and down, and drive back up. Down, drive back up. I would probably go, so normally if you're doing sets of 10 of your squats and your RDLs, I would go for maybe 16 reps, so 8 of each side. A bit like the RDL, keep it light, focus on that drive back up. That's what it's all about, not strength for this one. Visualize 2 tracks, not 1 track for your feet. So left, right, left and right, and it gives you a much more stable platform to drive back from. During a workout, I tend to just have a drink with me. If it's a short session, you don't tend to need to have carbohydrate on board during the session. I tend to eat before, so I've got the energy, I've got the carbohydrates in my system. If it's a long session, if I'm on the bike, a static bike that's going to be an hour and a half, then I will have carbs on the way. It could be in the form of a drink, it could be in the form of gels. Pre-workout stuff, an espresso is fine for me. Some guys go for expensive supplements. I just have a nice little cup of coffee because I enjoy my coffee. Okay, the last exercise of the session, don't forget the calves. There's loads of different kind of calf machines that you get. There's standing calf raises, there's calf press, you can use a leg press machine. You can even just have like a little block, if you've got a stepper block that you can sit on with your bench next to it, put a dumbbell on your knee and you can do calf raises that way. That's quite a nice compromise if you haven't got a machine like this. But for this machine, we're going to get ourselves, the platform or the step part should be in the ball of your foot. Go into a full drop down, get as much range with your ankles as you can, and then full extension. Now what we're not doing is that. You see that all the time. Now what happens when you're doing the bouncing, the stretch reflex part of your Achilles and into your calf, that's taking all the load. The muscles aren't taking any of the tension. You think that you're doing really well and it's a great workout, but all you're doing is basically putting the stretch reflex system under stress. So if you want to actually work the muscles nice and controlled and smooth, you can send the weight back up, like always on the contraction, the concentric part of the movement. It's always going to be powerful, it's always going to be as fast as you can. The movement might be slow because the weight is high, but that's the part that you try and drive up and then slowly down, drive up, slowly down. And when you get to the top of the calf press, just hold it for a second, just feel that contraction. Nice and controlled, send it up, hold it, and down. What you can do on a machine like this are drop sets. So a drop set is when at the end of each set of 10, or however many reps you're doing, you can just put it one weight lower. So put the pin one higher, have your 30 seconds or minute rest, and start again. Knock out a set of 10, and you're starting to feel the burn. You do 10 reps, stop, whack it down. And you keep doing that until your calves feel like they're going to explode. But it's a great way, it's a bodybuilder's trick that to improve that kind of protein synthesis, that hypertrophy. Don't bounce, that's a golden rule number one. Try drop sets where you reduce the weight after the end of each set. And if you want bigger calves, you have to train them. It's that simple. Don't get self-conscious about your calves. I've got skinny calves, it's all right. Just tell them Chris Hoy said it's fine. So I usually sit on the bike just for 5 minutes, really gentle, next to no resistance on your legs. Just turn them over, let all the kind of lactic acid, if you've been doing a really intense short session, so normally for that kind of session, sets of 10, 1 minute recovery, your heart rate is going to be really high, you're going to be breathing hard, and you're going straight from one exercise to the next. You're not really getting a chance to recover, so you expect to be absolutely shattered at the end of it. So it is important to let your body start to cool down, relax the muscles, flush that lactic acid or lactate out your muscles, and catch your breath before you go and get changed. Well, after a leg session, you've done some damage, some good damage, so you need to get some protein in your system. Protein, basically, it breaks down into branched chain amino acids, and those amino acids are then used as the building blocks to repair the damage, the micro tears in your muscles. It helps with growth, it helps with just the repair. So a protein shake is a great way of getting high quality protein. Go for whey, ideally whey isolate if you can, but any protein is good. But it's the speed with which you can get it into your system, so try not to wait until you get home. Have it already pre-prepared, or have your shaker with the powder in it. Go and fill it up at the water fountain, or you can even buy some protein shakes in the machines here.